Live and local, it's The Drive Guys. Watch the show on youtube.com/Sactown Sports 1140.
Or listen on the Sactown Sports app.
I just asked Alan Stiles to rank the top draft prospects in terms of their wiggle. If we ranked NBA announcers in terms of their wiggle, Alan, our next guest would be unquestionably at the top of the list because he was an outstanding college basketball player. It's a pleasure to welcome back to the program TV voice of your Kings, Mark Jones. How are you today, Mark?
I'm good, guys. I just broke open a bottle of Domas Sabonis' Pinot Noir, and I'm just chilling on a day off, man. You know, just me and wifey just hanging out. And I was thinking about what Alan was talking about a moment ago with those NCAA ads talking about 8,000 athletes play. Not everybody's going to play pro. How is that? Not everybody, man. Hey, I got a couple sniffs. You know, could have played professionally in Europe and been. Training camp fodder for some NBA camps, but the TV thing was too alluring, and it worked out early for me by God's grace and mercy. Yeah.
I mean, it definitely did. That's how you started off, Mark. That's what I'm talking about right here.
Hey, that thing rang true. I know what you mean.
I was trying to manifest, Mark. It just didn't work out quite the same way. But hey, we're here now, and I'm getting to talk to you, and that's always a great thing. Speaking of young talent, Mark, how do you assess the young guys? People have been going back and forth, myself included. How do you assess the young guys and the production that they have had, Nick and Maxime, because it's been in those low leverage type games? How are you assessing how they've been playing, and how excited should Kings fans be about them?
I think they should be thrilled because when you look at, Renaud being amongst leaders, among rookies and double-doubles, and his improvement, Nick Clifford's improvement, Cardwell was legit before he turned his ankle in practice. Those three guys, you put Keegan Murray back in the mix as a healthy Keegan Murray, who has a chance, I think, still to get back to the guy that shot 41% on threes in his rookie season. I think Kings fans should be thrilled because here's what it looks like going forward, guys. I really believe in, the vision of Scott Perry and B.J. Armstrong. They've got a proven track record, Scott in particular, with, New York, Detroit, back in the day, Orlando as well. I think when you look at ultimately the young guys like Nick and Max, and I think you can almost throw Precious in that group too because he's not ancient by any standards. The new formula in the NBA for winning is going to include rosters that are 9 deep. I don't think that the whole, big three thing and then filling out your roster works anymore because of attrition and the second apron. And I think when you look at the pieces that the Kings are looking to acquire and have presently, it's on track. It may not look like it right now, but the reps that Nick and Max and Dylan and Keegan got this year, Keegan was not a question mark. I think he's legit, but the first three guys in particular, that's going to bear fruit next year when Sacramento gets its, the Bonsto or Peterson or Boozer or Fleming or whoever it might be. And those guys will be ahead of the curve because of it. People can criticize and say, all right, it's not a winning situation. The team has only won 14 games. Sure, but anytime a player's on the court getting game time reps, you're refining your skills. And I think, some of the nuanced improvements and some of the obvious improvements are out there for everybody to see when you look at Max's numbers, when you look at some of the games that Clifford has had, and Achua and Cardwell. It's easy to measure the fact that you can't say that they haven't gotten better from the first time the ball was tossed up.
Mm-hmm. Mark Jones with us. Mark, I've never told you this. I just wanted to share this with you. And obviously it's because you know the game so well. You're the only play-by-play guy I know, and there are a lot of great play-by-play guys, but you will throw in a little bit about what's going on the floor, like you say on the Kings run zoom action. And then you describe the action or go screen. No one else does that. And I think announcers need to do a better job of focusing on, what's going on rather than all the talking heads talking about the gossipy stuff. And I just wanted you to know, as a basketball fan, I really appreciate when you throw that stuff in.
Man, thanks, Waddy. I appreciate that. I'm a basketball junkie, and I sit at home and call up scouts and ask them what certain teams' tendencies are. And, the Kings are outstanding with me in terms of the access that I'm granted in, shoot-arounds and practice. And it gives me great insight to be able to explain to viewers in Sacramento that watch the Kings and beyond what the team is doing and what the intent is and how successful it can ultimately be. And I just enjoy the tactical and strategical part of the game, and it's fun for me. And I agree with you. I think more people on television should be talking about, elbow action and talking about, being able to go to a certain player in a certain situation and just be strategic, because there's too much low-hanging fruit out there that the masses grab onto when they talk basketball. I mean, look at football, right? When you listen to football announcers, they're talking about split backs and slot receivers.
Cover two.
Yeah, cover two. There's no reason why basketball can't do the same thing, or basketball announcers on television shouldn't be doing the same thing. I think you're committing television malpractice if you're not, frankly. That's just me.
I agree. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, Mark, I had a question for you about the Kings, but now that we're here, do you think with some of the new outlets that have popped up, the Prime TVs and situations like that, Peacock, as they're bringing more athletes into the fold, and you'll hear them, I guess, get more in depth, do you think that the, non-former players that are color guys and play-by-play as well, do you think it might push them to do what you're already doing and to go a little bit deeper?
I wish it would, and I think that having those two new television partners on the block with Peacock and NBC and Amazon, I think it's raised the bar a little bit when, they're in their respective studios and walking through certain sets and plays and actions that teams are running. I saw a great demo not that long ago of the Amazon group explaining what the Miami Heat's new offense has been this year under Noah LaRoche, how they have a proclivity not to run any ball screens, and it's all drive and kick, and it's based on a wheel principle and guys rotating out of the weak corner. So, yeah, I love it. I love it anytime that we can, educate. Listen, anytime you're a play-by-play announcer, I think your job is to educate the viewer in an entertaining fashion, and in between, you're taking the player out of the jersey and telling the audience, the viewers, what that player's certain story is. It's about why Dylan Cardwell is so ebullient and so enthusiastic on the court. It goes back to his days at Auburn when they used to go, the basketball team, to football games, and when they showed the basketball team on the big screen at football games at Jordan-Hare Stadium, Dylan would take his shirt off and flex his muscles. The crowd would go nuts. So it gives you a little bit of background and insight. You mix in some flavor like that with the tactical part, I think you end up with a great broadcast.
That, of course, is Mark Jones. Mark, we hear from a lot of fans, of course, who are frustrated. We're all frustrated. And fans look at the record and they try to figure out what's wrong. And a lot of fans look at the coach. And Coach Christie has, some ways, maybe an impossible job this year. But given that, as you said, some of the young players are playing really well, don't we have to give Coach Christie and his staff some of the credit for that?
I really do. I think Doug has done a really admirable job in terms of handling a lot of moving parts, guys.
Mm-hmm.
How many different starting lineups have we had this year? And then when you've got, players obviously who are, I'm not going to say the winter of their career, but, guys who might not figure in what Scott Perry and B.J. Armstrong are planning to do in the future, might not fit prominently in the mix, but still in this present moment have to play a prominent role. That's a very difficult and nuanced balancing act for Doug to have to do. And I think he's done as good a job as anybody could do in trying to execute that. And once again, going back to the young guys, if we're grading him on the improvement of, the young players in Clifford and Renault and Cardwell and, Keegan Murray, it's tough to give Keegan a grade this year because he's been injured so much. I have to say incomplete, but he too had shown flashes of brilliance at times when he was healthy. I think Doug has done a very admirable job. And the part that I don't think people are going to understand or necessarily see is something that J.J. Redick told me last year in his inaugural season with the Lakers. I asked him, I'd done a national broadcast with ESPN and said, J.J., what's the hardest part of the job for you in year one? And he said, Jonesy. And he gave me this real exhausted look like, it's not even about the basketball component. It's the human component, the conversations that I've got to have with guys about minutes, about rotations, and about managing the game and being able to, go to the end of the bench during a game and talk some guy off the ledge before he starts MFing me to the rest of the team. You know what I mean? So those are the things that I'm not going to speak for Doug, but I can imagine he's dealing with the human part of it as well. So all things considered, I think he's done a very admirable job this year. Very admirable. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does next season.
Mark, a couple games ago, you said something along the lines of success isn't linear. There's a lot of doom and gloom right now with the Kings, and I guess anxiety, what the Kings are going to get when the lottery pops out, 1 through 4. Are they going to get 5? When you talk about the young guys and what you've seen, and we don't know what's going to happen with the vets, but do you see a world where the Kings, relatively speaking, could maybe turn this thing around sooner than what everyone thinks? I know there was a whole conversation of the 3 to 5 years and the term rebuild or wherever you want to take it. But do you see day to day when you're with this team, do you see the bones of something that could be getting built here and we might not be as far away from, at least competitive basketball than a lot of people may think?
Sure. I think it can happen. I think when you look at the 2022-23 season, Sacramento got lightning in a bottle, right? And if it happened then, it can happen again. If it happened then, it can happen again. But I'm not going to bank on catching lightning in a bottle like that Beam team did back in the 23 season. We're at a different place right now. There are different financial constraints that the team is dealing with in terms of, salary. But it only takes that one player or one combination of players that can help propel us from being, a team that's on pace right now to finish whatever it is, 18 or 20 and 62, whatever, to, like you said, competitive basketball. I wouldn't bank on it, like getting back to the number 3 seed in a rush like we did back in 2023. But I think that it's going to happen sooner rather than later. Although I wouldn't be disappointed if it took a couple years because you want it to be sustainable when you get there.
Hey, Mark, we appreciate your time. Before we let you go, I have to ask you, I think it was actually your brother who shared with us that you guys, your dad would give you, make you work on your vocabulary, and we hear that in the broadcast. Are you like one of the great Scrabble players? Do you just crush people in Scrabble?
I do pretty well. I do pretty well, man. I like loading up on those bonus points. Wait for those really those obscure letters that give you like 12 points, like a Z or an X. But yeah, man, Dad was the late Hugh Vernon Jones was awesome when it came to not giving my older brother Paul and I answers to English questions for homework. He would make us sit and listen to the Latin form of the word and the English version and the Spanish version. And it was painful at times, but I've come to reap the rewards of it and appreciate it a lot, man.
And your listeners and viewers, we reap the rewards as well. Thank you very much, Mark. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Hey, you guys keep up the great work, man. Light the beam. Go Kings.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Mark.
Wow. So your reflections, your recollections of not all of these athletes.
Because
they're all going pro, but they're not going to be a pro athlete.
Yeah, they're going to go pro in something else. And Mark went pro in something else.
He did. He was mentioning Coach Redick. The Luka Redick spat it's a story now, but the Lakers have a couple problems that are actually much bigger than that. We're back with that and more. Drive Guys on Sactown Sports.
Tomorrow night.